Okay.
Call to order the Madison District Public Schools monthly meeting. This is April 28th, 2020. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance from Ms. Castle.
Thank you, Mark. I pledge allegiance to
Allegiance
the
to
flag
the flag of the United States of America,
and
to
to
the
the
republic
republic
for which it stands,
one
one nation,
under
under
God,
God, indivisible, with liberty
For all.
and justice for all.
All right, Sandy, can we get a roll call attendance?
Yep. Mr. Kimball,
Yes, here.
Miss Ott,
Yes, here.
Miss Thompson,
here.
Miss Castle,
Here.
Mr. Holcomb,
Here.
Miss Scott,
Here.
Mr. Pittman.
Here.
All right. Next item is Superintendent Report with Mr. Abdullah.
Excuse me, Mr. President. I would like to make a motion to amend the agenda to add an item.
We're not even at the action items. No. Mr. Abdullah, would you continue with your report, please?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, everyone. Just want to report out on some wonderful things going on during this pandemic. In spite of all this, there's some great things going on. Our continuity learning plan is on week 3 of the phase 2 implementation. I will give you a percentage of active participants. We've managed to deploy about 600 devices to students from kindergarten all the way up to 12th grade. We also have between 70 and 85% participation of students, weekly participation, depending on what building they're in. That's great news. We are also in talks on a few things that I want to share with the board and with the community. We're in talks about what report cards, how we would address report cards if we mail them out, or so we're in discussion now with the principals regarding that. Once we get more details, we will share that out with the Board of Ed. We're also in discussion with high school and with the alternative on some ideas and strategies on how we celebrate our seniors. We don't want to forget them. We're in talks what prom might look like, what a graduation looks like. I'm in the thought process of, even if we do a virtual one, I still want to do a live one anytime. Once we are cleared, I think our seniors deserve that. We're also in talks with the middle school about 8th grade promotion. And we're in talks with our elementary about 5th grade promotion and what that looks like. Also, we are working on contingency plans. Should come August, should the decision be made by the governor's office that we are not ready to go back to school, what does a balanced calendar look like for some of our schools that start in August? So we're having Plan B and Plan C, just in case. We're just preparing for that. I want to also share with the board that to date, we have served 51,846 meals to our families.
That is fabulous.
51,846. Gleaners has been wonderful. I would be remiss if I would not recognize our volunteers, our cafeteria workers, our outside maintenance. They've been phenomenal. They've been in the trenches from day one, serving our families, and it is it's humbling to see that they sacrifice everything to serve our families. Today, I witnessed volunteers serving gleaners, and it gave me chills just thinking that people are sacrificing their time and putting their health at risk to serve our families. So I honestly appreciate that. Also, our teachers have donated money for that wonderful Easter meal that was shared out, and that was from their pockets. That was from them, and we are so appreciative of them. Also, we didn't have time to prepare this Zoom meeting, but I believe the next Zoom meeting, we're also going to have some options where people could call in should they not have internet access, where they could call in and participate Zoom this way. And I believe, Mr. President, that is all I have for tonight.
All right. Public fundamentals with public comments. Public input is fundamental to the operation of Madison District Public Schools. The public has the opportunity to speak at every board meeting. A period of time known as public comments is set aside. We are at that point right now. Mr. Abdullah, have you got any comments that someone has referred to you? Any public comments?
For those that would like to speak, if you could raise your hand on the chat bar so we could see who's interested in making public comments. Is there anyone in the public that would like to make public comments right now? One second, Mr. President. I'm just looking to see if there's any hands up. I don't have any hands up, Mr. President, but you're the host.
It says Amy Lewis, I think. It just popped up.
Mr. President,
She popped up a message.
we're getting
but-
text lines at the top from Miss Lewis.
I understand that. Is that indicating she wants to have her 3 minutes?
I believe you could unmute her and
I'm not
Oh, it's
seeing.
in chat.
She's not showing up under, well, okay, hold on a second.
It's only showing up under chat. It's not showing up under line to
Yeah,
speak,
hold
I
on.
think.
Hold on. Miss Lewis? Miss Lewis? I unmuted her.
It's just coming out as chat on top.
Amy.
She doesn't have audio.
Oh, she has chat. Okay, I could, Mr. President, if I could read her questions, if you would like. She's only able to.
It's not a matter of question, it's a matter of statements. So what statement is she making?
Okay, Amy, if you could put on chat, if you would like me to read your chat for you. My question, Mr. President, Amy, my question is why the board president does not follow Robert's Rules of Order with amending the agenda. That was
That's
a question.
That's her statement?
That was her question.
All right, well, that's her statement. We don't necessarily answer questions. Okay, so we move to if that's the only one, we move to the next item. Board of Education action items.
I'd like to amend the agenda to add to the items. I'm sorry, I'm having a problem with getting my picture back up, so
I think
Sorry about
Miss Lewis said she was not done. The chat came across. Sorry,
Well,
excuse me.
then what else? What else does she have?
She said, would you, okay, I would read it. I am not done. Amending the agenda is right after ceremonies. It is the Pledge of Allegiance immediately after. Ms. Scott is correct. Mr. Kimball is not.
Is that it for Ms. Lewis?
Follow Robert's Rules of Order, please. Thank you. I believe that's all.
Well, if
I apo-
Ms. Scott wants to make, she wants to amend the agenda, she wants to make a motion to that effect. Do we have a second?
Mr. President, I'll second that.
All right, Mr. Pittman? Discussion? Let's get a
So
roll
I
call
would
vote.
like to, oh, I'm sorry.
First, you have to make a motion to amend.
Yes, that's okay.
All right, so roll call vote, Sandy?
All right, sorry, I wasn't expecting. Mr. Pittman,
Yes.
Ms. Scott,
Yes,
Mr. Holcomb,
Yes.
Ms. Castle,
Yes.
Ms. Thompson,
Yes.
Ms. Ott,
Yes.
Mr. Kimball.
No.
Motion passes 6-1.
okay, so now, Board President, is it okay if I make my motion?
Yep.
I would like to reinstate Board of Education pay retroactive to January 13th, 2020.
Reinstate.
Isn't that already
Or-
on? Yeah?
That's on
No.
next month's agenda.
Yeah, okay.
I thought it was on the amended agenda we just got from Angel.
No, that was the payment to Paul Rogers. This was going to be on next month's agenda, but we can go ahead and do it now if you want. So
Okay.
do we have a second?
I'm sorry, I'm gonna need Ms. Scott, if you could reread that for me. I missed the date that you stated. So if you could just read it one more time for me, please.
To reinstate Board of Education pay retroactive to January 13th, 2020. And I apologize to everyone. I cannot get my picture back. I don't know what's
That's
going
all right.
on with my,
We can hear you. Do we have a
Okay.
second for that?
I'll second it.
All right.
I'm sorry, that was Ms. Ott, correct?
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct. Discussion? Any? Or
Mr.
statement?
President?
Yeah.
My only question, thank you. My only question would be is, how does some people know that was going to be on next month's agenda? I didn't hear anything about that.
Because I got a request today from another board member. Email, like I've asked anyone else that wants to add something to the agenda.
I have a
So
question.
the agenda hasn't been formed yet, a request had been made.
Okay, thank you.
And
I have a
who's that?
question, please, Mr. President.
That's gotta be you.
No, that's Barb Castle.
That's
Barb.
Barb Castle. Okay, I can't see her, but go ahead.
Angel, in light of this request, are there any budgetary considerations that we need to be aware of that might make this difficult to do at this time? Because originally we had suspended pay because of the budget, and now that we're in the state that we're in, I'm not sure how our budget is looking, because I'm sure there's being money spent that is beyond the need. I mean, we have a need right now.
Well-
I want to make sure that we're not going to cause budgetary problems.
I believe, Mr. President,
Yes.
I believe that it was placed in the budget at the beginning of the year and it was never removed. So
Okay.
even though the Board of Ed suspended your payments for a short period of time, the budget money was still set aside for you all.
Well,
Now-
Mr. Abdullah had also indicated to me that with us being closed right now, we are spending less money, especially on utilities. So I don't see it being a hardship.
Okay, I was just bringing it up just to make sure that we're showing that we are looking at that, we are being responsible.
All right. Anyone else have a statement?
Mr. President, if I may?
Yes. Mr. Pittman.
All right, can we get into a little more detail on that motion? Say like it, because I believe Ms. Scott said retroactive. Can we just put a number to, like, is it going to be January? I don't remember how many meetings that is. Should we put a number to it?
She can also rephrase it, all back pay.
Yeah, well, the reason I'm asking, I'd like to know what the number is, because I want to, if I could just get what the number is for now.
Well, I don't have the meeting dates in front of me, so I couldn't tell you that.
Okay.
Mr. President, if I had to guess, I'd
Yeah,
say it's
that's
about five meetings.
Probably about 5. Yeah.
It would be
Five.
6. Excuse, Mr. President? I'm
Yes.
looking at, it would be
Mrs.
6,
Ott.
including today.
All right,
6
6
meetings,
including
including.
today, Mr. Pittman.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay,
uh,
exception to that, Bill. It would be 5 for us because,
missed-
we
No.
missed the meeting that we had 2 meetings the day. I don't know if that's counting 1 meeting for them or 2 meetings for them. I don't know, on the day that we missed. Remember when Bill and I couldn't make it to the meeting where you all
The 5
went
o'clock.
over the,
You talking about
right,
training?
training, yeah, and you went through the policies. I don't know if you count that as 2 meetings or,
I believe,
When this motion is
President?
passed, they'll go back through the records. Cite
Mr.
attendance,
President?
and
But
Good
her
check.
question, Mr. President, her question is, because 2 meetings took place on that particular day, do we look at that as 2 meetings, or because we just met one day, even though we had 2 meetings, would it be considered?
I have
paid
no
meeting?
idea. That would be something Mr. Abdullah had or Mrs.
I think it's-
Manoff would answer. I don't know.
I think it's in our bylaws that it's 1, but we could say that it be paid for 2 meetings that day
Well-
because it was quite a bit.
Okay, we're
could-
not here to determine that. We're here to follow through with this motion. So,
Did Harold just walk?
But we're just
Yeah.
present discussion right now about it.
well, you're asking me a question I don't know the answer to, so I don't know how I can answer it any better than that.
Answered the question because you don't have the answer. That was the answer to the question, and defers to Mr. Abdullah, and where it stands then, right?
You were chopping off. What was that?
I could provide, we could go back and look, and then we could provide a number of meetings that were attended, and then I could give you that number, answer your questions. And then we could also look at the bylaws to see if they discuss 2 meetings on the same day. My thought process, there were 2 separate meetings. One was a training and one was a meeting. So I believe, again, these are my thoughts, but I will do whatever you guys decide, that I believe they're 2 separate meetings, a training and a board meeting. So I believe they should be paid separately.
Mr. President.
I agree.
Mr. President.
Mr. Broad.
Mr. President.
Ms. Castle, go ahead.
Angel, that was it really wasn't a training session. It was, we were going through some of our policies. It was like a working session of policies.
No, I think you're not remembering the MASB trainer was there. It was a training session.
No, there was one after that though, Mark. It was at 5 before our 7 o'clock meeting.
Yes, and we went through policies, and Beth and
The big
and,
9.
and Bill were not able to get that 5 o'clock time slot.
Right.
Oh, you're talking about the study session before the meeting.
That's
Yeah.
what, yes.
All right.
It's-
Well,
that would-
my understanding is study sessions are paid. So I think that would probably answer your question right there.
All right. So, Mr. President, if I
Mr.
could,
President.
here's the reason I asked for a dollar amount, and whatever it ends up being, including tonight's meeting, I would like to take what is owed to me, divided by 3, and give it to the PTOs, 1 for Madison Elementary, 1 for Wilkinson, and 1 for Madison, divide it by 3. If it's 5 meetings, that's $75 a piece. If it's more, whatever. Can you do that for me, Mr. Abdullah?
I
Yeah,
believe the check's got to be issued to you and you do what you want with it, right?
Oh, because I've done this in the past, so I don't. All right, I'll do it.
Mr. Mr. Pittman, I could research that for you, and if somehow we could possibly do that, Ms. Monifo, if we could do that, could you reach out to Mr. Pittman and see? If you give us a few
Thank
days,
you, Bill.
Pittman,
Yep.
well,
Yeah,
Well,
okay, that's
thank you.
fine.
Thank you, Bill.
You're welcome.
Okay, any more comments? All right, Sandy, if we can get a roll call vote?
Mr. Holcomb,
Yes.
Ms. Castle,
Yes.
Ms. Thompson,
Yes.
Ms. Ott,
Oh, Debbie, you're.
I've seen her mouth move,
I'm
but
sorry, yes.
yes, okay. Mr. Kimball,
yes.
Ms. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Pittman.
Yes.
Yes, motion passes 7-0.
Thank you.
All right, on with the board action items. First one is, it's recommended that the Board of Education approve the minutes from the Monday, March 2nd, 2020 regular meeting and special Board of Education meeting, March 23rd, 2020 special board meeting. Does someone have that motion?
Mr.
I
President,
will.
Yes. Can I get a second?
I'm sorry,
Mr.
which one are we
President?
recognizing as
That
the
was-
first?
That was Mrs. Ott.
Ms. Ott is first,
Wasn't
okay?
Then I'll
It was
second.
Beth.
it was Beth, so
Okay.
I'll second it.
All right, reverse them.
Just to clear, that was Ms. Scott.
Ms.
first.
Scott made the first and Mrs. Ott made the second.
Second. Thank you.
Okay, any comments on this?
Okay.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Kimball,
Yes.
Ms. Ott,
Yes.
Ms. Thompson,
Yes.
Ms. Castle? Ms. Castle?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Holcomb?
Yes.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Pittman?
Yes. Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Next item, it's recommended the Board of Education support the recommendation 2020-2021 Oakland school budget as presented. Someone have this motion?
Mr. President, I'll
Mr.
make the motion to approve the Oakland Schools budget as presented.
Thank you, Mr.
Mr.
Pittman.
President. Mr. President, I'll second it. Beth Scott.
Second, thank you. Any comments?
Mr. President,
Yes.
I don't know how many, if you guys all looked through all 300 and whatever pages of that, but maybe Mr. Abdullah knows, was it purposely done that like probably 100 of those 300 pages were some kind of, where you couldn't read it? Were there numbers we weren't supposed to know about or information? I think if you start on page 54, looking through that thing to like 104, you can't, it's just like a bunch of, I don't know, a bunch of codes basically. And it's done that like there's like 3 times within that budget, the paperwork that you couldn't even read it. And again, it's just, I know this is just a formality, but
You know what?
just curious.
You should have been able to read everything. It could have been, let's see, I'm going through it now, but everything should be available.
Yeah, I
Mr.
can't.
They refer to that as their fine print because it's just fine with
Yeah.
them.
Did you,
Oh.
you saw the same thing?
Oh,
Yeah, I'm gonna turn this around here.
Okay.
You guys see that on my
Well,
Yeah.
regardless of what we discuss here today, nothing's going to
Kelly.
change the budget. So, I don't know how much time you want to spend on this.
No, I know it's just a formality. I was just saying if it was just me or.
All right, any other comments? Nope. Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Thompson?
Yes.
Ms. Castle?
Yes.
Mr. Holcomb?
Yes.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Pittman?
Yes.
Mr. Kimball?
Yes.
Ms. Ott?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Next item, it's recommended the Board of Education approves the conditional E-rate agreement with the fiber link for the annual amount of $23,833.33 over a 3-year period.
Mr. President,
Yes, Ms.
I'll
Ott.
make the motion.
Mrs. Ott, thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mrs. Thompson, thank you. Discussion, and in fact, before we do discussion, Mr. Abdullahad, why don't you explain this a little bit? We've talked about this.
Okay. I can,
Mr. President, I asked Dr. Hill to speak a little bit about both, so I'll turn the time over to Dr. Hill.
okay.
All right,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Hill?
Okay, basically, right now we're in our E-rate window. And E-rate gives funding to the school districts for two separate categories. The first category is to improve your internet system, and the second category would be just for maintenance. And that's exactly what these two companies are doing. We put out a bid for these services. With FiberLink, they are supporting our fiber maintenance that is necessary. And with the fiber maintenance, it was underground work, how our internet is connected through fiber under the ground. And whenever you have like consumers energy digging and things of that nature, there is a company that they refer to understand where the lines are. So that's where FiberLink comes in. It's a maintenance agreement. It will actually only cost the district $2,383.33 annually after what E-rate pays.
Right.
So of that $23,833.33, you know, E-rate pays 90% of that, and the district only has to pay $2,383.33. And we have to have it because when Consumers Energy comes out to dig, we don't want them to tear up the fiber that was newly put down. And it's the way that our schools, the internet is supported in our schools. And the network electronics, which is the second company, in order to make our internet service in the buildings and between buildings more robust so that it could support the instruction, we also are requesting E-rate money to support network electronics. They were the second bidder. The cost to the district on that is $16,376 per year. E-rate pays for the rest. And we're going to get switches. We will get switches. Network electronics will do switches and access points. So, and you need those connections to improve our internet system so everything is robust and we can handle all the large programs that are needed in the classroom, without so many crashes and interruptions. And that's what we're presenting today. So this is our E-rate offerings. It's already been rebid.
Well, you talked about two different motions here. We're dealing with the first one.
Mm-hmm.
The only question I've got is, does this cover if there's an accident to the line, if it's severed or damaged?
Yes.
The maintenance? Okay.
Yes, and we only have to pay, FiberLink is a maintenance agreement. We only have to pay if we use it.
Right, okay. All right, so are there any questions on the first part of this anyways, the maintenance contract? I think the highlights are we're being reimbursed 90% for this.
That is correct.
Yep. Mr. President,
Mr. Pittman?
doesn't this also pay for and maybe it's part of the second one, I apologize, like the company or the district cell phones and things like that, you get reimbursed quite a bit on that with the E-rate, or is that part of this?
It's not part of this. For the second one, network electronics, they're only going to be providing switches and wireless access points. That's what this is just for.
Because I remember.
So basically, router.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Abdullah.
I believe, Sandy, you correct me if I'm wrong, but part of our E-rate also pays for our telephone lines, correct?
I believe that's what Mr. Pittman was referring to. Our normal E-rate, we get a reimbursement. It's usually, most of the reimbursement goes to the phone lines. I think sometimes there's leftover for cell phone usage as well, but I think it's percentages have changed over the years. So it's
Okay.
more like hardline of reimbursement. We get a bigger reimbursement on that than we do the cell phones, I believe. But I don't think these two agreements that Dr. Hill referred to are either one of those. This is just for the specialty for the fiber, correct, Dr.
Yes.
Hill?
Yes, and we do have another E-rate agreement that is currently running.
Okay.
Yeah, with
Right,
that,
that was for the installation of the fiber.
yes.
I
All
just
right,
remember when we approved the cell phones for everyone a few years back, we were told we were only paying a few dollars a month on the bill because E-rate was reimbursing for 90% of the cell phone, district cell phones. But maybe that's changed over the years.
All right, any further comments? No? Can we get a roll call vote, Sam?
Mr. Holcomb,
Yes.
Ms. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Pittman,
Yes.
Mr. Kimball,
Yes.
Ms. Ott,
Yes.
Ms. Thompson,
Yes.
Ms. Castle.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
All right, this is the second part that Edwina's already covered. It's recommended the Board of Education approves a conditional E-rate agreement with Delta Networks for an amount of $109,175.32. As she just stated, these are for network access points, and we're being reimbursed 90% for this. Anybody take that motion?
Mr. President, I'll take the motion.
All right, Ms. Scott, anyone second it?
I'll second.
Who
All right,
wants this?
Mrs. Thompson.
Ms. Thompson, okay.
Don't say I didn't give you anything, Gloria. Any discussion? All right, so we've all covered that. Roll call vote, please.
Sure. Mr. Pittman,
Yes.
Ms. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Kimball,
Yes.
Ms. Ott,
Yes.
Ms. Thompson,
Yes.
Ms. Castle,
Yes.
Mr. Holcomb.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
All right, next we move on to our human resources. We have one new hire for this month, Brianna Carter, substitute bus driver. There's no other resignations, terminations, reassignments. It's recommended the Board of Education accept the personnel report from Madison District Public Schools as presented. Can I get a motion for this?
Mr.
Mr.
President,
President, I'll take the motion.
Mrs. Ott? Ms. Scott?
It
would you
was
like to
Beth.
second?
Yes.
All right, Ms. Scott will second it. Any discussion? No? Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Ott,
yes.
Ms. Thompson,
Yes.
Yes.
Ms. Castle,
Yes.
Mr. Holcomb.
Mark?
Mr. Holcomb,
Yes.
thank you. Ms. Scott,
Hello.
Yes.
Mr. Pittman,
Yes.
and Mr. Kimball.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Next, we move to the business office. It's recommended the Board of Education approves monthly expenditures totaling $1,225,007. $25.07. Can I get a motion for that?
I'll make the motion, Mr. President.
Thank you, Ms. Scott. Do I have a second?
Mr. President, I'll second.
Thank you. Discussion?
Mr. President,
Yeah.
kind of breaking up on me. Are we voting on the expense or the check register?
Whose phone keeps ringing?
Mine.
No. We're not voting. We have a first and a second. We're at the discussion phase. The check register.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Abdullah.
can I withdraw 2 checks from the check registry for mechanical services until we get more details? And we will present that in the future after we get clarity.
Fine with me. Anyone have any objections to that?
Nope.
No? All right. Anything you want to add, Mrs. Thompson?
No, that was the
Okay.
discussion.
Anybody else? No? Roll call vote, Sandy?
Ms. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Pittman,
Yes.
Mr. Kimball,
Yes.
Ms. Ott,
You're muted
Ms. Ott?
again.
Dang it, yes.
Thank you. Ms. Thompson,
Yes,
Ms. Castle, and Mr. Holcomb.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
All right. Next item is a motion to release the check that was withheld last month to Mr. Rogers. Does someone have a, can I get a motion for that?
Mr. President, I'll make the motion to go ahead to approve the payment for Dr. Rogers.
All right, Mr. Pittman, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
That's Barb? Yeah, Ms. Castle?
Yes.
All right, discussion?
I do. So is this the payment that I asked for us to receive the invoices that he was requesting to be paid?
This is the one that was pulled last month, over a month ago, actually,
Yeah, and
until it
had
was
asked-
further scrutinized.
right, I had asked to see the invoices for all board members to see the invoices.
I don't recall the exact language of the meeting, but it's possible.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Pittman?
just to clarify, I think what Beth is asking, I think we both had some discussion on this during the meeting, and when I looked back through the invoices that we originally got from Dr. Rogers, and it was what he is requesting was after, so you know what I mean? Like, I think the months was September maybe, or was it August? And so I think this is good from what I saw, that we do owe him for this, because the payment that we had given him prior only went maybe to the end of July or the end of August, whatever month it was. I do remember
Right.
looking back through, and I think we're good.
That's my understanding. Anyone else
Well-
got any?
Gloria, did you go through the invoices?
Okay,
I did. And I believe I had him with me at the last meeting. Did he submit a brand new invoice? I don't think so.
Right.
But, you know, let's pay him and get it done and get it gone.
all right, anyone else?
And, excuse me, Mr. President,
Yes, Ms. Castle.
there is an understanding, though, that this is his last invoice, correct? We have everything.
This is the final. This is the final invoice,
All right, thank you.
approximately $1,200.
All right, thank you.
Do we know if he has accepted or returned? I don't know the wording for it. The packet Bill was going to send out for his separation from us.
I have no idea. That's a personnel matter. Mr. Abdullahan, could you answer that?
It came back. At this point, it's a moot point because you guys made your motion several months ago, but the packet that we sent out came back, returned to sender. We sent a.
But there's been communication through email regarding this, has it not?
I emailed him, yeah, so I emailed him. So I think he's clear between Mr. Kimball and myself. I think he's clear on that. I think the packet now, it's a moot point because he knows.
Okay, I have another question. So if we sent him out the packet and it came back returned to sender, where exactly is the check going to go?
The check's going to go to his address where all the other checks have gone to. Why that one came back returned to sender, no one knows.
So so we're going to send him a check to the same place that we got his packet back that said return to sender. So why wouldn't we just call him and tell him to come pick it up and have him sign his paperwork or pick up his packet at the same
Because
time?
it's more likely something happened with that packet and was a fluke over all the checks that we've sent him in the past that he's received with no problem. So, and especially with today with the situation with the coronavirus, to stay for bet to just mail it to him.
Is this packet something we need his signature on, Mr. Abdullah?
No.
Oh,
Where'd he go?
He's had enough.
Possibly.
Well, now I have Edwina where I didn't have Edwina before. Hello,
Well, because,
Hawaii.
because everything got reshuffled. Angel dropped
You
off.
have to go to the left, Deb. If you're on the iPad, you have to scroll, put your finger on the left and scroll over to see everyone. But, okay, as long as we didn't.
I just readmitted Angel.
Okay.
He got bumped off.
So my concern
Well,
was,
wasn't me. My hands were in plain sight.
so my concern was, is that we needed his signature on something. So
We
if we
don't.
don't, okay, so I'm okay with sending his check, and if it returns to sender, then returns to sender.
We'll deal with it then.
Right.
Then okay, so any more discussion? No? Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Castle,
Yes.
Mr. Holcomb,
Yes.
Ms. Scott,
Yes,
Mr. Pittman,
Yes.
Mr. Kimball,
Yes.
Ms. Ott,
Yes.
Ms. Thompson.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
All right, next item on the agenda. It's recommended that the Board of Education approve the contract to provide student services. Can I get a motion for?
I'll make the motion, Mr. President.
All right, thank you, Ms. Scott. Second,
I'll second it, Mr. President.
Ms. Castle, thank you. Discussion? No discussion. Roll call vote, Sandy?
Mr. Kimball,
Yes.
Ms. Ott,
Yes.
Ms. Thompson,
Yes.
Ms. Castle,
Yes.
Mr. Holcomb,
Yes.
Ms. Scott,
Yes,
Mr. Pittman.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Next item, it's recommended the Board of Education approves Mr. Abdullah Hud's discretion to pay employees for food service distribution hours worked. I believe what this is considered is above and beyond pay because all the time they put in. Well, first off, before we get into that, does someone want to make the motion for this?
I'll make the motion. Beth Scott.
Thank you, Ms. Scott.
Mr. President, I'll second the motion.
Mrs. Ott, thank you. Now discussion. Who wants to start?
I believe, I'm just going to make a comment. I think it's a very good move.
Okay.
I have a
No.
question.
Okay,
I
Ms.
have a
Scott.
question. Okay, so Mr. Abdullah, it's going to be to his discretion. I'd like to know exactly what that means, to his discretion. Like,
I have the same question. Is there a dollar amount we're talking about, total capping this? There's a lot of details that I think we all need to hear on this first.
because I would like to know that everybody that, I would like to know that if everyone that's working now during this time and with the public would be getting it. That would be my concern. I would like to see that happen.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Abdullah.
once we look at all the hours, yeah, so we're looking to pay those that have gone above and beyond that are coming in and doing their job. Once we get a total number of hours, I will share that with you. But we need a discussion because it's above and beyond their contract. And that's all it means. It's not, I'm not picking winners and losers. I'm not saying I like you, therefore you're getting hazard pay. I don't like you, you're not getting hazard pay. We're just asking for discretion to allow us to do that.
Well, yeah, personally, I believe it should be should be pretty equal for everybody that's included in this. And my only thought is, should we not wait till you have a total dollar amount and come back to the board for approval?
No, I think
table this.
if you give us approval, we would like to go ahead and proceed and cut a standalone check for them and to release it. We don't want to come before the board again.
Okay, but do you have any figures, any amount of figures though that you can give us on this? Some idea of what this is going to run? I'm not saying it's a bad idea, not at all. But
My concern is not that.
1,000 what?
My concern wasn't that. My concern was, were we just going to pick and choose? Like, if there's 4 people out there, we're only going to pay 2 of them. That's what I wanted to make sure anybody that is working with the public, that they get it. That's what I wanted. I wanted to make sure we weren't just picking and choosing our favorites or non-favorites, or how. I don't think we would ever do that, but I'm just saying that was my point. I don't care about the dollar figures because I can't put a dollar figure on what they're doing. I see them out there. I couldn't do it, so I don't have a dollar figure.
Mr. President?
Yes, Mr. Abdullah.
I'm a little biased as well. To me, what they're doing is above and beyond. We're looking to pay time and a half. That's what we're looking to do for the work that they've rendered. We're looking to pay time and a half. It's not going to be an outrageous amount, but I don't want to give you.
Okay, are you talking about time and a half compared to what they would normally get straight time in any normal situation? Not the.
Yes.
Is that what
Yes.
Okay.
Time and a half for the times.
I have no problem with that, but there just have to be some basis, and I agree with Ms. Scott that this should be kind of across the board fair, not just singling out.
Agreed.
That is we're not singling. That is exactly what we're doing. We're taking
Okay.
care of our essential workers.
Well, we're not doing our job if we don't act. So, I have no problem with the time and a half compared to normal time. Anybody else have anything?
Sounds good.
All right, let's go for a roll call vote then, Sandy.
Ms. Castle,
Yes.
Mr. Pittman,
Bill?
Bill?
He's muted.
I don't know.
I apologize. Sorry. Yes.
Miss Ott,
Yes.
Miss Scott,
Absolutely, yes.
Miss Thompson,
Yes.
Mr. Holcomb,
Yes.
Mr. Kimball.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
All right, next item, it's recommended the Board of Education adopts the Madison District Public Schools 2019-2020 Continuity Learning Plan. Is that a squeaky toy I keep hearing in the background or something? Or baby's toy?
I thought maybe it was Bill's chair.
No, I think it's Mr. Holcomb's dog.
Oh, it's a dog. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Would someone like to make a motion for this one?
Mr.
I'll make a
President?
motion.
All right, Mrs. Ott and Ms. Scott,
I'm-
do you want to second it?
Yes, I'll second it.
Okay,
Okay,
so Miss
second.
Ott first, Miss Scott seconded. Thank you.
All right, discussion. Do we have any comments? No? Roll call vote, please.
Miss Ott,
Yes.
Mr. Pittman,
Yes.
Miss Thompson,
Yes.
Miss Scott,
Yes.
Miss Castle,
Yes.
Mr. Kimball,
Yes.
Mr. Holcomb.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay, that concludes board business. Do we have any committee reports by anybody? Probably not. No? Okay. Then let's roll right into board comments. Let's start with Ms. Castle.
Thank you, Mr. President. Angel, I'd just like to say thank you to you and your staff. The continued thanks to you guys for what you do every day. Without you guys, wouldn't have the great success we're having with this whole pandemic. So thank you. Make sure you pass that on to everybody. You very, very much, including our volunteers.
All right, Mr. Pittman.
Well, yes, thank you, Mr. President. I also want to thank Angel and the entire staff, everyone. This is as everyone knows, it's something that none of us have ever had to deal with before. And I was especially happy to hear that there's even thought going into what's going to happen next year hopefully in our buildings, because anything could happen. It could be, kids have to sit 6 feet apart. Kids have to wear masks. It could be something that, it's a big, wide open field out there. And like I said, I'm glad to hear that Angel, and hopefully I would imagine the administrators have put some thought into what's going to happen in August. Hopefully we're back in our buildings, and thank you to everyone. That's it.
All right, Mr. Holcomb.
Yeah, I want to say thank you too to Angel and all his people out there that doing all the food given away and at the parking lot. Like, you guys are doing an awesome job. I gotta hand it to you. Keep up the good work. Thank you.
All right, let's go with Mrs. Thompson.
I'd like to reiterate what everybody else has said, Angel. But again, you've been just on top of everything. I've been able to pick up the phone and call you and get answers on just about anything. So thank you and your staff. Thanks.
Ms. Scott.
I want to thank everyone that has joined our Zoom meeting or who'll watch it later. I want to thank all of our students and our parents for all of their hard work. I know it's hard work all day, every day, trying to go through all these apps and the teachers. From the bottom of my heart, I want to thank Ricky Malik, Scotty LeBrash, Ron Scott, Mr. Andra, Mr. Abdulahad, and all the teachers, dietaries, and volunteers helping with the lunches and gleaners and just putting a smile on all the kids' faces, especially Amelia's. I mean, this is her time to get out, even if it's with a mask in the back seat and to see everyone. It has helped tremendously. All the teachers and the parents and the students reaching out to each other during this time. I personally, again, want to thank Mr. Jarboe, Mr. Harwood, Mrs. Harris, Mrs. Troshio, Mrs. Moffitt, and Mr. Abdulahad for personally reaching out to Amelia, sending videos with their kids. As they all know, Amelia is struggling really hard at this time, not being in school. That has helped her tremendously. I don't know what I would do without all of you. And we are Eagle Strong, for sure. Great job to everybody.
All right, Mrs. Ott.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to say that I'm really proud to be on the school board because we have such a fantastic district. Our teachers have stepped up, the administrators, Mr. Abdulahad, you're just doing a fantastic job. And like Gloria said, if I ever had any tech problems or anything with the Zoom and what, I call Mr. Abdulahad, he picks up and boom, you know, everything is solved. To all the food service workers and the drivers, thank you so much. We wouldn't be as successful in this district without you guys. Thank you.
And last would be me. And I just have to say everyone's doing a tremendous job. A lot of people are stepping up. It's really good. And I think there's a more cohesive attitude with this board as well, which is great. So that's all I've got to say. And I think next we go to, would someone like to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, Mrs. Thompson, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, Ms. Scott, and discussion. Roll call vote, Sam.
Unmute.
Sandra? What's that?
Mr. Kimball.
What?
Would you like to vote first?
Sure, yeah.
Sorry. Miss Ott,
Yes.
Miss Thompson,
Yes.
Miss Castle,
Yes.
Mr. Holcomb,
Yes.
Miss Scott,
Yes.
and Mr. Pittman.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Sandy.
Thank you. Good night, guys.
Everyone.